Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. It's Maddie here, and today we're going to be watching and giving our commentary for the grand finals match of this past weekend's Ursiiday's Pocket Weekly tournament. We did the same thing last week. Last week was Pikachu versus Mewtwo in the grand finals. This week of the 1600 player tournament, it is Celebi versus Pikachu EX. I'm not going to spoil the results for anybody that don't already know, but we did do a meta report video where we talked about all of the results from this tournament on Monday, so definitely go check out that video after this if you would like to, but let's get right into it. By the way, shout out to Ursiiday. The quality on this is going to be a little bit low because this is a recording of a recording of a recording. We're going to be watching back this finals match from her live stream that she does on these tournaments, so definitely go check her out. Link will be down in the description as well, so shout out to her. But anyway, let's get this match going. So we start with Pikachu and Celebi in the active spot. I believe Pikachu is going first here, and we're going to see a turn 1 Professor's Research. We're not going to be able to read these cards because they are in Chinese or Japanese. I'm not sure exactly what the language is, but we know what the cards are, per se. If you don't, you know, I don't know really what to tell you. These cards have been out for quite some time, but yeah, Pikachu and Celebi is an interesting matchup. Typically, Celebi kind of has the advantage, mainly because of things like Executor and Erika's and Potions. Really that early fast pace, not incredible damage, but that really sort of middling tempo damage that Pikachu is able to do can kind of get negated by things like Executor and Erika's, and then it allows really Celebi to kind of come in the late game and really do some tremendous damage. But as we see here, Celebi is going to start in the active spot, and Celebi can double as a pretty decent tempo card as well, similar to Pikachu. However, Pikachu is a little bit more consistent, but they both can attack for 2 energies as basic Pokemon. Pretty strong as the Blitzel comes down for our Pikachu player, and he is going to go ahead and attach to the Pikachu and just pass his turn. So Celebi being ahead on the energy curve is pretty nice. Going second is typically what Pikachu would love to do in this matchup. As we see here from the research, we draw into both Executes, which is actually not a bad draw. I don't know what his hand looks like. We are not able to see the hands. I assume they don't show it because they don't want people stream sniping for sure, but as we see here, we can attach that second energy to Celebi, flip a couple coins, and potentially do some early game damage. Unfortunately for the Celebi player, we won't be doing any damage. And next turn, we're going to be taking at least some damage from this Pikachu EX. However, he only has 1 electric-type Pokemon on his bench. He's got a pretty big hand here, so we could see some more Pokemon. We'll have to see what the Pikachu player draws into. Now, that's kind of the upside with Pikachu, is that it is a very consistent deck, and you are able to get damage out really early. As we see the bench get filled out here of basically everything that we could want, like the Dedenne, the Zapdos, and the Blitzel. Second energy coming down on the Pikachu for sure. We're going to do a nice 90 damage attack here on our third turn because we went first, but we see the Execute. So this is something a little bit different that the Celebi player was playing. They were actually playing the Execute card from Mythical Island. 1 copy of that, as well as 1 of the Executor EXs from Genetic Apex. But this Celebi player is in kind of a tough position right now. He could attach an energy to the Celebi and potentially try to get some damage off on this Pikachu, but he's going to get KO'd next turn regardless. So he's going to do the smart decision. He's going to retreat out, play that X-Speed, and he's going to go into this Executor, which is only a single prize Pokemon. And then he's still going to commit the energy to the Celebi, and here comes the potion. A couple potions, a couple Erikas, and this Celebi's going to be full HP and out of range of getting KO'd by a Pikachu. So like I said, that's really the big upside. And the Executor here, even though it's not an EX, still has 130 HP, so it will be taking a hit from this Pikachu, really buying some time for the Celebi player to get that Celebi set up. But the Zebstrika comes out for the Pikachu player, and we see this Sabrina. The Celebi player is probably going to be forced to go into the Execute. A little bit unfortunate, just means that, you know, we're not going to get any more Executors in this matchup, and our opponent will be taking 1 point here. But as long as we're able to survive and keep stacking those energies on our Celebi, really what we want to do is heal that thing up, maybe get Jungle Totem in play here, although we haven't seen any Snivies or anything like that. So no Jungle Totem, at least for another couple turns. However, we do just draw into the Snivy, so that is something that the Celebi player will want. However, we got to keep in mind that even after we KO this Pikachu here, which isn't a guaranteed shot, we're actually going to go into the Celebi right now, which is very interesting. Even if we take the KO here, we're probably going to get KO'd back in a turn or two. We see 1 tails, 2 tails, 3 tails, 4 tails. Wow. Okay, so the Celebi player opening up with 0 for 6 on coin flips here to start this match. And you know what? We're going to see the quick concession from the Celebi player because that's just how things go sometimes. So yes, Celebi is a very strong deck, but unfortunately, sometimes, you know, you just don't really draw what you want to draw. And I think that was actually a really great example before we go into the next match of how the pace of inconsistency of Pikachu can really just allow you to win games, especially in matchups that aren't really considered great for Pikachu. That's just, again, one of the big upsides for Pikachu. And Celebi and Executor is a really good matchup against Pikachu. I think Pikachu has a really low win rate, about a 20 to 30% win rate against Celebi. However, we see here it is best of 3, so we're going to go into the next match. Let's fast forward this a little bit. And as we see, the Celebi player just getting off to a really rough start, and Pikachu is just so fast, so consistent. Let's see what the Celebi player is able to cook up here in game 2. He will be going first, so they will be switching this turn, or this game, which is pretty interesting. We see the Snivy, double Pokeballs coming out on turn 1. We're moving really quick here, and there's the Execute. We saw the Exeggutor EX in our hand. So this is kind of exactly what the Celebi player wanted to do last turn. He wanted to get his basics in play. He wanted to get an Exeggutor EX up and running as early as possible. Going second, though, this Pikachu player is actually going to be ahead on the energy curve, so that is going to be really important. Going to be able to attack with Pikachu on turn 2 is going to be really, really good, but as long as we have a way to retreat out with the Celebi, we can go into Exeggutor next turn and hopefully maybe draw into some Ericas to kind of stay alive for a little bit longer, whittle down our opponent's Pikachus or whatever they have in the active spot. The Pikachu player, though, going to get down a Blitzel and a Zapdos. Again, super consistent, really fast-paced deck here. Again, that Blitzel's not super useful in this matchup. However, that bench damage can be useful to finish up some KOs late in the game. It can come in clutch as we actually draw into the Servine. So here on turn 2 for Celebi, we have Servine. We have our Celebi EX in the active. He's actually going to attach to the Celebi in the active. It looks like he doesn't have a way to retreat out, so he's going to preemptively attach to the Celebi EX in the active spot, but we do have an Exeggutor EX in hand. However, we don't actually play it down. Kind of a smart move from the Celebi player, actually. I'm going to pause this real quick to talk about that one play, which I really like. We know that he has an Exeggutor EX in hand. An Exeggutor EX is really good in this matchup, but however, the Mythical Island Exeggutor is also really, really good. Paired with Jungle Totem, we're going to be able to attack for only 2 energy. So basically, the Celebi player not evolving that turn into the Celebi, or rather the Exeggutor EX, is actually a really smart play because he could draw into the other Exeggutor, which could be potentially more useful for him. So just an interesting play. I wanted to note that. And a little bit more room for decision-making in the Celebi deck here than Pikachu. Pikachu's really going to aim to do the same thing every single turn, especially in this matchup. Again, you want to get the Pikachu set up as early as possible. You want to get that damage off, just like we're seeing here. 90 damage, turn 2, it's what Pikachu does best. And then we also have, we draw into a Research, so this could be really good for the Celebi player for sure. But we have the Dedenne, we have the Zipstrika, we have the Zapdos on our bench yet again for the Pikachu player on turn 2. So just such a consistent deck. We draw another Research and a Potion off of this Professor's Research. So now our opponent is going to be forced to evolve into this Exeggutor EX. And then he also has the Superior in hand, as we saw. So that is actually really, really interesting. However, we don't have a way to retreat out with X-Speed or anything like that. So we're just going to have to spend that energy to and get rid of it to retreat out. We're going to go into the Exeggutor, 160 HP. We do have the potential to 2-hit KO this Pikachu EX. We could draw into a Potion. We could draw into an Ericas to live an additional turn. It really could be the difference. Again, we really just want to save that Celebi. The Pikachu player could play Sabrina next turn. We flip tails, unfortunately. But technically, we could flip heads next turn and still get the 2-hit KO on Pikachu EX. That's why the math, again, works really well for Exeggutor. It's a big reason why Celebi and Exeggutor has a really good matchup against Pikachu, is just because the math really does work out pretty well on top of Ericas, right? Even if we get hit for 90 damage here, we played Ericas, we're living an additional turn, and then you can even string together 2 Ericas to live for 3 or 4 turns. It's really, really strong. A big reason why, again, Celebi typically has a really good matchup against Pikachu, but this Pikachu player really getting the exact start that he wants. This turn, I'm not really exactly sure what he's debating. He could be running Potion in his deck, I forget. And if he is running Potion, a Potion play right now could say this Pikachu could be really, really clutch. We might not see it. It might not be in his hand, of course, but the Celebi player really has kind of everything that he would like as well. He has the Superior. He has an Exeggutor EX in the active spot. He is going to be a turn behind in terms of the energy placements and the energy, resources, basically. And here comes the Potion from the Pikachu player, and that is actually massive. So this Pikachu living next turn, no matter what, which is a really, really great play. And yes, he's going to start committing those extra energies to the Zapdos EX to potentially, take another KO late in the game to kind of finish things up. But this Exeggutor going to take some damage, and unfortunately here we draw into a second Celebi. Do we have a Potion, or do we have an Ericas in hand? We don't have Ericas, so we are going to play Research here, a second Research. What do we draw into? We draw into a Superior, and we draw into an Execute. So not the Ericas or the Potion that we wanted here. So unfortunately, this Pikachu player really kind of having a commanding presence here in this match. Now the upside, though, is that this Celebi on the bench does have full HP. And unfortunately, this Exeggutor is going to go down next turn, and there's really no way around it. So we're kind of really banking on that Jungle Totem boosted Celebi next turn. He's going to be flipping 4 coins, and we flip tails again, but this isn't the biggest deal in the world. This puts Pikachu below 100 HP, which means that now all we have to do is flip 2 heads with Celebi next turn, and with Jungle Totem, we're going to be flipping 4 coins. So really what this match is going to boil down to right now, I'll pause it real quick, is that Celebi on the bench with full HP 130 is basically basically going to come into the active spot. He's going to flip 4 coins on the active Pikachu, and he's going to try to take a KO. Now, he could, technically, the Celebi player could go into the Superior and then hope to live a hit before he goes into Celebi, buy himself another turn. However, in order to do that, we would need a way to retreat out of that with that Superior, so we would need an X speed or a Leaf. But also, we don't necessarily want to do that because that Zapdos could be set up by time we do that, and it could take the KO. But basically, it's going to come down to flipping some coins with that Celebi and KOing the Pikachu. He only needs 2 heads, and then living an attack from Zapdos. That's what this is really going to come down to. That potion was extremely good from Pikachu. It didn't end up mattering, but unfortunately, the Celebi player not drawing into any Ericas or any potions, which maybe could have allowed that Executor to live an additional turn. So let's see here. We're going to get 2 energies on the Celebi, and now we draw into the Ericas, which actually is still really important here. 90 damage coming in from the Celebi. He actually might use the Ericas now. I don't think so. I don't actually think it matters. We're gonna bench that Execute, and he might. Is he gonna use the Ericas here on the benched Celebi? I don't really think it matters either way. The only reason that Ericas would make sense is to be a little bit safer from Sabrina. This is gonna bring up to 90 HP, which again you still would probably choose to bring up the Superior to live an attack from Zapdos anyway. So I don't think that Ericas really mattered. It could in the long run, but here we go, flipping 4 coins. We get 1 heads, 2 heads, and 3 heads. So getting a little bit more lucky this game. That Celebi player, he will be getting the KO on the Pikachu, so now all he has to do is live an attack from this Zapdos EX, and this game is probably going to be over, and that's really what it comes down to. Unfortunately, Celebi, a little bit more of an RNG-based deck. Pikachu very consistent, however, it doesn't have a great backup attacking option. Zapdos is the next best thing, but nothing is guaranteed with Zapdos. We're going to flip 4 coins, and we're going to have to get 3 or 4 heads out of those 4 coins in order to take the KO on the Celebi. But here comes the Sabrina. We knew it would come up. That's why this Ericas probably doesn't really, the one previously didn't really make much sense. We're going to bring up the Superior, and yeah, we're going to be basically forced. Same thing with our opponent. There's no different here, basically. Like, he didn't benefit from playing that Sabrina, mainly just because he still has to flip the same amount of coins. We have to get 3 or 4 heads here on the Zapdos, but let's see if he is able to flip those needed heads here with the Zapdos EX to take the KO. He already has 2 prize cards, so if he ends up taking the KO here, that's going to be the match. We'll have to see. That's 1 heads, that's 2 heads, that's a tails, and that's a tails. 50-50. That's only 100 damage. Superior living by only 10 HP. So now the Superior has to get out of the active spot. If we have an X speed, if we have a Leaf, then we can get out for free. However, we might have to just manually attach to the Superior, which we're going to do here. A little bit unfortunate. This means that unfortunately Celebi is still only able to flip 4 heads instead of 6, or 4 coins instead of 6, but it's still only the best option basically from our opponent here. He might have a Sabrina in hand, which would again increase the odds of us taking a KO. We'd only need 2 heads instead of 4, but I don't know if he has Sabrina in hand. He does have the Ericas in hand, so because he had 2 Ericas in his hand here, that's actually really useful. Now that we can get this next Celebi up to full HP, so if we don't take the KO here, possibly we could do it next turn with the other Celebi. And here we go. We flip 2 heads, and that's 3 heads from the Celebi. That's going to be 150 damage. A little bit lucky from the Celebi player, but again, you know, Celebi, again, a very RNG-based deck. The Pikachu player, I think, did everything in his power to win that match, but unfortunately, the coin flips fall where they may. There's really nothing else you can do there, and unfortunately, you know, he's not gonna get the win there. I mean, it really comes down to coin flips, and that's, again, doesn't feel super great. Let's fast forward here to game number 3 here. So game 3, going into game 3 to determine the winner of this tournament. But yeah, this matchup is very, very interesting. It's unfortunate that a matchup like this has to come down so much to coin flips, but that's what Celebi is really all about. And unfortunately, Pikachu doesn't have a great secondary attacking option. Zapdos really our only option, and it's a very RNG card. However, last week we did see that Zapdos was the reason Pikachu beat Mewtwo in the finals last week. So there is, you know, 2 sides to every coin, no pun intended. But Zapdos, again, not the most consistent attacker in the world. It did do 100 damage, so you gotta keep that in mind. Like, unfortunately, Celebi just has the potential to do that much damage for only 2 energies with Jungle Totem. It's a little bit unfortunate, but I mean, the Pikachu player had a really good start that game. And it looks like the Pikachu player going first, or second rather, in this match is going to be the first player to attach energies. And he attaches to the Blitzel in the active spot, just doing a little 20 damage to the Celebi. However, the Celebi player does have Celebi and a Snivy on the bench. We're going to play research here, hopefully drawing into, let's see, a second Snivy. No Pokeballs or any other basics, so he's just going to go ahead and bench that second Snivy. We do have the Servine in hand, and we're going to attach to the Celebi in the active spot. Nothing really else for us to do here in the early game. The Pikachu player with a pretty large hand size here, 7 cards in hand, no other basic Pokemon being seen yet. Here comes the research. Do we draw into potentially some Pokeballs or some more basic Pokemon? That's definitely going to be really important for this player, Pikachu player. As we see, the Pikachu EX does come down. We're probably going to hopefully evolve into a Zebstrika here. That would be probably ideal if you're the Pikachu player, but we're definitely going to be attaching our second energy to the Pikachu. And again, the strategy for Pikachu in this matchup is very much the same. Here comes that Zapdos. It's very much the same. There's really not a whole lot. Basically in this matchup, you kind of have to decide whether or not you need to kind of commit energies to the Zapdos. Yes, it's RNG based, but you do at least have the potential to one-hit KO. So if you're behind on the energy race in this matchup, sometimes it might be better to just leave things up to chance and at least give yourself a chance to take the KO with Zapdos instead of, going into the Pikachu beforehand. Yeah, it's interesting. We'll have to see where he commits that second energy. He could, again, start attaching to the Zapdos preemptively to put himself in a position to maybe KO something. But if this Blitzel, which is going to attack the Celebi again, we'll bring it down to 90 HP, but unfortunately, like I said, Celebi does have Ericas, it does have potions in the deck, so that's, again, why this matchup is a little bit tougher for Pikachu. You can't really guarantee that you're going to be able to set up for KOs with so much healing on the Celebi side of things, but yeah, last match was very interesting, and as we see, though, Dedenne comes down, so the full bench, the full setup for the Pikachu player, again, everything that we would need. We haven't seen Dedenne incorporated yet. Again, in this matchup, I don't think Dedenne is that useful. Again, that chip damage could come in handy in other matchups, but as we see the potion here, really kind of being the great equalizer in this particular matchup. So the Celebi no longer in range of getting KO'd from Pikachu. A second Servine comes out, which is very interesting, and we also have the Superior in hand. So Jungle Totem in effect here on turn 3. 2 energies on the Celebi, and yeah, this is a really tough position for the Pikachu player. Celebi probably going to get the KO here on the Blitzel. It does, so 50-50, that's 100 damage. The Blitzel does go down. If he evolved or not, it wouldn't have mattered. He still would have been in range of getting KO'd. And now, basically, the Celebi at almost full HP, out of range of getting KO'd by anything on our opponent's next turn, will be flipping 6 coins to attack, basically, and doing 50 damage for each attack. And again, there's really nothing the Pikachu player can do here otherwise than to go into Pikachu and do some damage here on the Celebi. That potion and the healing for this in the Celebi deck is really the difference in this matchup. I said it a bunch of times in this video, but it really is kind of the big deal. It's a big reason why Celebi really wins this matchup a lot of the time, even with the consistency of Pikachu. But having Jungle Totem up so early is a little bit uncommon for this Celebi deck. Unfortunately, though, it is something that can happen, and it makes this matchup so much more difficult if the Celebi player is able to get that Superior and the Jungle Totem effect into play. So the Pikachu player, yep, he's just going to commit the 2 energies to the Pikachu. He's going to hit Celebi for 90, but unfortunately, it just doesn't matter. He's going to have to get really lucky on the Celebi player's attack, but even if he does, there's really nothing else for him to do. I guess technically what we could do next turn is go into the Dedenne if we survive, maybe try to do some chip damage, and then take the KO on the Celebi. So that is something to keep in mind. But unfortunately, the Ericas also being played or drawn right there means that we could just get ourselves out of range as well from the Pikachu. But a Sabrina could be in hand as well. We're going to play the Ericas. We're going to go up to 70 HP. Let's see if we also have a potion or not. We probably don't. But if you are the Celebi player here, I think basically what you have to do is just commit that 3rd energy to the Celebi, flip 6 coins, and hope that you get at least half of them heads to take the KO on the Pikachu. Again, it's all in the name of RNG if you're the Celebi player. There's really nothing else for you to do except just pray to the RNG gods and flip coins until you win the game or lose the game. I mean, that's really what Celebi is all about. And it can be strong. Listen, it can be strong. I was actually surprised that Pikachu made it into finals from this tournament, if I'm being honest with you. But you know what? Here we go. We're just doing it. 6 coins. Let's see what we get here. That's 1 heads. 1 tails, 2 tails, 3 tails, 4 heads, 5 heads, perfectly 50-50. That's 150 damage. Going to take the KO on the Pikachu, and that is going to be it. That is going to be the grand finals of the Ursiiday's Pocket Weekly this weekend here, Game 3. Celebi taking the win over Pikachu. Not that big of a surprise, if I'm being honest with you. Celebi, again, has a really good matchup into Pikachu. I think the surprise more so this week was that Pikachu made it into grand finals, but we've been expecting Celebi to at least win one of these tournaments, and I think the week where Pikachus have been a little bit more commonly played and more played in these tournaments, makes sense that Celebi was able to get the win here, as we saw. Definitely a really good matchup for Celebi. It's RNG based, but with the Ericas, with the potions, with Executor, we have a lot of staying power, which Pikachu doesn't really appreciate too much. But anyway, guys, that's going to be the grand finals. That's the video for today. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Stay tuned. The new expansion comes out at the end of this week or early next week, so the meta is going to be changing a lot, and I'm really excited to see kind of how all of the new decks function, what the new decks look like, how they all interact with each other, what the metagame evolves into, and what it looks like. We're going to be, again, keeping track of all of the tournament's results and the entire metagame and everything going into this next expansion. It's going to be really exciting. I'm super excited for it. I think it's going to be really, really fun. But I am rambling, and I apologize. So let's wrap up this video. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a good one. Peace out. Don't forget to like. Don't forget to subscribe. And join the Discord server as well. Link down below. Our Discord server is growing. It's a great place to hang out and, you know, enjoy each other's companies and talk about Pokemon Pocket. So anyway, guys, peace out. Have a good one. We'll catch you guys later. Bye.